And this is the irony of it all, and this is the trap. The Europeans began to manipulate history when they rose and began to expand into the broader world in the 15th and the 16th century because they had to justify the slave trade and they had to justify the colonial system that followed. And modern racism has its incubation in that period. You cannot enslave a man and say he's a human being, but he has humanity. Black people have never written any definitions of race, any definitions of what a people. They have never said that these people with these kind of traits belong here. Because modern racism had its development in the pseudo-scientific development of intellectual Europe after the 15th century. And they began to say that certain kind of people belong to certain kind of race, and they created the concept of race and racism itself.
You saying, in essence, that there's no such thing as a race?
Oh, I maintain that race is the phoniest issue ever invented by the mind of man. The European invented and developed the concept of race. There's really no such thing as a race because nature created no races. Race is a man-made thing.
Could we say that being called black was a political term?
It's a political term and a term which indicates our self-awareness at this juncture in history, and I think we really need it. We need to really bathe in blackness for a while, but I wish we'd get the bath over with and go on to something a little more important. We need to really bathe in blackness for a while, but I wish we'd get the bath over with and go on to something a little more important. Black in itself is not an ethnic term. Black tells you how you look, but it don't tell you who you are. We are essentially an African people. Wherever we live on this earth, we're essentially an African people. And we relate to the millions of African people throughout the world, including the uncounted millions of Africans in Asia. The word Afro-American or African-American would probably be more appropriate and more honest and more in keeping with what we actually are. Because all of us are not positively, physically, real jet black. And so the argument now sometimes is between the supernationalists and the mild nationalists and blacker than thou. When blackness is a state of mind, a state of attitude, a state of approach to things that can exist in almost any of us, including from the blonde black person to the jet black. And the jet black can be traitors, and they can be patriarchs, they can be a whole lot of it. See, we've been everything in history from saint to buffoon. We are complete people, and we need to start looking at ourselves as a complete people. And I think that once we convinced ourselves that we're black and beautiful, we'll stop saying it and just go ahead and be black and beautiful and release a whole lot of energy for more important things.
Could we say that being called black was a political term?
It's a political term and a term which indicates our self-awareness at this juncture in history, and I think we really need it. We need to really bathe in blackness for a while, but I wish we'd get the bath over with and go on to something a little more important.
All right. Peace and welcome once again to the Sesh channel. This is your brother Wujao Menebedi Ma'at, along with Emi Kadaku Kenshaya Kenyi. And this is attempt number 2 to go live. So for those who were tuned in just a little while ago, the thunderstorm definitely shut us down. So I gave the heads up for everyone that when I did go live the first time, that the thunderstorm had just started coming through, and it definitely did its thing. Okay, so here we are. So again, I would like to welcome everyone. Hopefully everyone who was tuned in not too long ago are now, coming back in and will be hanging with us for this conversation today. So again, I'll start this off by giving the title. Today we're going live to do a commentary on the interview between Brother Garfield and Ankh and Dr. Peter J. Brand, as you see on the screen. All right. So as I was saying before, the motivation for doing this today was based on the conversation from last night, our live stream from last night. I was asked about Dr. Peter Brand's comments on a few things, and I had yet to give commentary on the interview that I intended to do and promised from before. So here we are today, and I'm going to use the same format that I did with the commentary I gave on Dr. Winterman's interview. So, and that is what I'm going to do is I'm going to play the video. The original interview is about 2 hours long. So I don't intend on playing the entire video from start to finish. What I'm going to do is I'm going to play the video, but I'm going to actually go to key timestamps where I feel that some of the things that were said warrants my commentary about. All right. So, but I do encourage people to watch the full interview, on your own time, and you can come away with your own opinions about the statements and things that were said and shared. All right. So, kind of want to buy a little bit of time for people to kind of trickle back in on this particular live stream. So, I want to give a shout out to everyone who is tuned in, and let's just see real quick who I actually see. So I want to say greetings to the brother Kevin MC Chill Hurd. Greetings to Teddy Wasser Ma'ad Ra Sanefaru. I see you all made it back. And if you all are there in the chat, I might not be able to see you until you make a comment. So make yourself known by just giving the greetings so I'll know that you're there. And then we'll just dive right on in and with the commentary. All right. So just kind of want to buy a little bit of time for people to kind of make their way back in. But while we're waiting, we have brother Chris is in the building. So peace again to the brother Teddy. Peace to the brother Christopher Withers. All right. So kind of a little bit to buy time. I had started, the stream here a little while ago, and I think we were about maybe 10 minutes into the stream, so people didn't miss much. And I actually went ahead and put the previous stream on private so that people won't get confused, because it's really not worth keeping up. Maybe I'll delete it or whatever. So in case you're wondering, I'm just going to start all over, and we're going to dive in and give some commentary on the interview. All right. And this is Dr. Peter J. Brand. All right. And I plan on doing the same thing for other interviews that were done by Brother Garfield and Ankh, and even others. I may give commentary on scholars' presentations from other channels that have nothing to do with some of the channels that we're already familiar with. So I may just play videos and give commentary on it. All right. So you all can look forward to that. And peace again to Sister Mika. I see we still got Mika 1. I thought Mika was going to come with Mika 2. And peace to Brother Ankh Majid. All right. So let's see. Might as well just go ahead and dive in. So let's just do that. I'm going to share my screen. Get it shared. Okay, so hopefully you all can see it good, and you should be able to hear it. Make sure the volume is up. Okay, so again, to set it up again, what I do is I'm gonna play the video, and you see the title of the video is called. It's from the Brother Garfield podcast YouTube channel. So if you want to watch the full interview, go to that channel and make sure you watch the video and listen to it and come up with your own opinions about what was said and shared. But the video is entitled Ankh and Garfield Interviews Dr. Peter James Brand, Sheikh Anta Diop, Kemet, Dynastic Egypt. All right, so that's what I'll be playing. Now, I do want to say this from the get-go. The way this video starts, this is exactly how the video starts. I don't want anybody to think that I made any edits or I skipped anything already. This is actually how the video starts. And it kind of threw me off because there's no There's no intro or anything. It just comes on in the middle of their conversation. And so as you watch the video, I saw that about the 50-minute mark is when they actually introduced Dr. James Brand. So apparently the first 50 minutes or first 40 minutes of this video, they're already having a conversation prior to the brother Garfield formally introducing the scholar, Dr. James Brand. Okay, so I'm going to give you all the heads up so you don't think that something's wrong. All right, so we're going to go ahead and get it played. So here we go.
That these are the black people of Kush.
Yeah.
No, not Kush, the black people of Egypt.
Of Kemet.
Of Kemet. Or they saying the Kemet mean the black people in this whole glyph right here. But from what I've learned, that will be kind of out of context based off the culture, based off of how they would have did it. So what is this saying right here?
Well, the first part of it normally, and I'm not sure if this is actually an original writing or something that's been composed. The first three signs where you have that sort of little thing with the jagged edge, that actually represents the tail of a crocodile.
Okay.
And it has the value chem
Okay.
in Egyptian. And then the owl is the letter M.
Okay.
And then the little half circle sign, which represents a kind of loaf of bread, is T. So those first three signs, we're reading from left to right. Those first three signs represent the group Kemet, and it comes from the word Kem, which means black. So Kemet means literally that which is black. And generally speaking, this word classically refers to Egypt as being the black land. And then the three signs, you have the seated man, the seated woman, and those three strokes that look like the number one. Those three strokes together is sort of the designation for plural. So the man and the women and the three strokes would be like meaning generically people. So if you read this would look like a writing for the black people.
Okay.
Or those who are black, referring to a group of people.
Okay, so I have to stop here and make a few comments. So number one, which should be obvious, is that Dr. Brand was shown this set of glyphs, as you all see on the screen. He's being shown this set of glyph, which is an Egyptian word, but he was not given any context in which this word was used. He wasn't given the text or the context in which it was used. And that's apparent because as you hear him talk about it, he says he's not sure if this is an actual original writing or something that someone just created. And there, you can use an app. The main app that everyone uses is Sesh. And you can create any words that you want. You can freely use the glyphs however you want. And so he said that he's not sure if that occurred or if this is an original writing. So that's number one. And based on that, having said that, my advice to Garfield, or my suggestion to Garfield and Ankh, is in situations like this, it's always best to give the scholar, if you're going to ask a scholar about a particular word, we have to understand that words don't exist on islands in and of themselves within the universe. Words are part of a collection of words that create, they have a syntactic environment, a semantic environment, a pragmatic environment from which you can interpret meaning. And so that has to be understood. And so, because this happens to me, it used to happen to me a lot, where people will just ask me what does a particular word mean. And many times they won't even give me the glyphs. They'll give me the transliteration. So then I have to say, well, give me the glyphs, because there are a lot of homographs in the language. So I need to know which one you're talking about. So when they give me the glyphs, then I ask them, well, where is this used? Like, is there a particular text that you're studying or whatever? And so I go through the same thing with people. I used to do it pretty often, not as often now. But so that's my suggestion, and that has to be put into consideration. So you should never really do that without going through that process with someone. So that's number one. Number two, I noticed that Dr. Brand, when he started to explain it, he said that you read it from left to right, and he went from left to right naming the glyphs. He said the first one is with a jagged edge, which is the I6. He says it's a crocodile tail. Then he says the bird is the owl. The glyph below that, and I don't know if y'all can see my cursor, but the glyph below that, he said it's like a half circle, but it's a form of a loaf of bread. Then he said the man and the woman and the 3-stroke determinative. And so, but when he discussed these first 3 glyphs, he says that this spells Kim or Kemet, and it's from Kim, black. And he says, so Kemet is that which is black. So now here's what will be a follow-up question that should have been asked of him at this point. If I was to stop him here and ask him a question, is so number one, remember my number one, he at this moment, he doesn't know if this is a made-up word that somebody just created, using glyphs, or if this is an original Egyptian writing, Egyptian word in Egyptian text. He doesn't know that at this point. So I find it interesting that he assumes that this Kemet here is from the root word Kim, meaning black, and not Kim that means something other than black. And now I say that for those who are not familiar, I say that because in the Egyptian language, there are many words that would transliterate as KM, and we would pronounce as Kim, with these same glyphs, with the I6 and the owl, or even the I6 alone, Kim. So they would be considered homographs, words that look alike or spelled alike but have different meaning. So you have a Kim that means to pay someone. You have Kim that means complete, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So it's interesting, and so this confirms the need for people to understand why it's important to ask these kinds of questions. Like, how did he just now, not even knowing if this word is an actual Egyptian word or if somebody made it up, I want you all to notice that he automatically, by default, assumed that the Kim in this word, the Kim part, is the root from the adjective Kim, meaning black. So I want you all to notice that that's exactly what he did, and that's what everyone does. All right. And it's definitely an assumption. So I just want to point that out, and I'm gonna let it play. Oh, by the way, he did say that he said that this means as far as Kemet, coming from Kim, meaning black, this is that which is black, and then you have the rest of it, the seated man and the woman and the 3-stroke determinative. That, and I'm not sure if he said, I may be getting ahead of myself from the last video because I played this already. Let me just let it play a little bit.
And if you wanted to write a word that meant, those who are black, referring to people, this is how you would write it.
Okay, yeah, so he did say that. So he's saying that this word could mean black people or those who are black. And he's saying this is how you would write it. That was his last statement. All right. But now what I want you all to do is to pay attention to everything that Dr. Brand is saying and how he's saying it. Okay, in totality, because what I find and the reason why I was even asked about this particular video and interview and give commentary about it is because a lot of people cherry pick what they want to hear from people or what they want to see which is a clear sign of bias, and that's something that a lot of people are guilty of. And, a lot of people fall victim to that, but the whole idea is to overcome that and not to ignore even evidence or things that go against what you already preconceived in your mind or want to happen, et cetera, et cetera. So just pay attention and make sure you pay attention to what he's saying and how he's saying it.
The question I have is whether this is actually something that it would appear on an ancient Egyptian text, or whether this is something somebody has composed in using Egyptian hieroglyphs that is not actually from an ancient Egyptian text, but as actually somebody who has composed it using the ancient Egyptian language to write.
So that's a confirmation of what I said before, that he's not sure if this is an actual word or something that somebody made up, which is an indication that he's not familiar with this word or where it's from or anything. And that leads to my suggestion, my advice for anyone doing interviews with scholars, but specifically here with Garfield and Ankh, that they should have given him context, where the word is from, the fact that it is an actual word from a text, is from the hymn to Simwasaret III, et cetera, et cetera. But that didn't happen, which is causing what Dr. Brand is saying right now. So I'm let it finish playing.
To write a word that the ancient Egyptians didn't write themselves, if you see what I mean. Like,
yes,
it's the same as if you, well, to give you sort of an example, they still use Latin in the Catholic Church, which was a language, of course, spoken by the ancient Romans. The church issued a new dictionary that contains words that the ancient Romans never used, such as a word for computer or a word that means jumbo jet, to refer to a jumbo jet aircraft. Okay. Well, obviously, the Romans didn't have words for computer and jumbo jet, but you can make a word in Latin that means such things. Now, there is an actual word in Egyptian that means the people of Egypt, but it uses the word for people, which is Romachet, and then it uses the word for Egypt, which means Kemet, and it would be Romachet and Kemet, which means the people of Egypt, which means literally the people of the Black Land. So again, I would have to look at dictionaries to see if I could find this particular word that's written this way. But I just wonder whether
I think it is. I think it is in a dictionary. But okay, that's it. I'm not sure if you can find it actually in a sentence. So, okay, yeah, I got you.
It's also possible that this is a writing that would be read the people of the Black Land as opposed to the Black people.
Okay.
Because
so now I had to pause here and comment about a couple of things. So one, this is also at this point, it's also a confirmation that the brother Ankh himself is not sure that this word is found within a sentence, because as you heard, brother Ankh just said that. He said he thinks it's in a dictionary, but he's not sure if it's in a sentence and what have you. So that goes back to my suggestion is to, before asking, these scholars certain questions, you want to make sure that you're informed, you're informed around it. You don't want to just pull questions out the blue or not really be informed on it, so because it's more productive if all parties are informed as much as possible so that you can get the most out of the question and answer session. You want quality, right? You want to get the most out of it. You want to bang for your buck. You don't want to, get empty conversation. All right. So that's number one, as far as my comment right now. And then number two is, what was the second thing? I forgot. Just that quick. I forgot. I'm not even sure if that was number two. I wanted to point that out. And then, and he gave the example of Latin, which reinforces what I was saying, that people can use software apps such as Sesh with the hieroglyphs and spell anything. You know, I could spell the word computer. I could spell the word, spaceship, whatever that the ancient Egyptians never had in their vocabulary. Okay, so that's what he's dealing with. Oh, and another thing, I can see the chat. You know, I have my iPad open on the side. So while I'm looking at this, I'm glancing over at the chat, but I don't want to pause too many times to answer a lot of questions in the chat, but I'm going to glance. So anything that you do have for me or ask, feel free to ask it, but bear with me. I may not jump to your question right away. Okay. Cause I want to get through this video as condensed. You know, I don't want this video to be longer than it has to be. So, but let me just answer Mika's question. See if I can highlight her question real quick. I did see a question, and make sure you at the Seshu when you do have a question. And if it's not, let's see. Okay. So this was Mika's question right here. Have you seen anything like that, like this glyph anywhere before? And so to that, I'll say that if you remove the owl, the bird, and you just have the I6 above the bread loaf, etc., that is the form in which we actually do see it in the hymn to Senwosret the third. Okay, so that's just to answer your question real quick. All right, so, and the way it is on the screen is weird, and that's probably what's throwing Dr. Brand off. Okay, it's just, you know, let me add that as well. And I thought I saw another question. Philitentus asked a question. Do you have any videos specifically on pre-dynastic period or the period that led to the dynastic periods? Like, yeah. So so this is for everyone. Try to keep your questions within the scope of what I'm doing. All right. I don't want to answer for now. I don't want to answer questions that's going to take the topic off far from where I'm at and what I'm doing with this video. Remember, I'm giving commentary to what Dr. Brand is saying. The statements made between Ankh, Garfield, and Dr. Brand. All right, so just keep that in mind. But I'm going to be monitoring the chat. Okay, all right. So let me let it play.
Because the word for Egypt is most often attested as Kemet, the Black Land.
Correct.
But
that's what I wanted to say. So number 2 was, I wanted y'all to notice that he said, let me just bring it back because I did a lot of talking in between.
Land as opposed to the black people. It's also possible that this is a writing that would be read the people of the Black Land as opposed to the black people.
Okay, so you see that. So now he's giving an alternative, not based on anything. He's just giving an alternative based on his knowledge. He doesn't know if this is a real word or where it's attested at or anything at this point, but just based on his already known knowledge about the language or what have you, he's saying it also could be a rendering of people of the Black Land, okay, as opposed to black people or people that are black, etc. So you just heard him. So now we have these two alternative or two possibilities. So let's just say it that way. So these are two possibilities that he's saying. Now, as a side note, I want everybody also to be aware of, based on the conversation I had last night with the brother Shaka Ndugu Kemet, who asked me, had I seen this yet? He is of the mindset of cherry picking what Dr. Brand said and rolls with the first possibility. Even though Dr. Brand gave two possibilities, Shaka Ndugu Kemet is ignoring the second possibility and is only rolling with the first possibility. And what I say to that is that we have to be careful with anachronists. And this is what I call those who violate anachronisms, which means that people are trying to apply our modern ideologies and our modern constructs and things backwards in ancient times on ancient people, so much so that we become very polarized and biased even in our own interpretations and research. And so this is an example of cherry picking when Dr. Brand gave, so far at this point, he gave two possibilities of reading this word that he's not even sure is a real word. He gave two possibilities. So why would somebody just pick one and roll with it, et cetera, et cetera? Again, that is a sign of bias and being anachronistic. Okay, so I just want to point those things out. All right, let's continue.
Okay.
Because the word for Egypt is most often attested as Kemet, the black land.
Correct.
But the word for people, the standard word for people is Romachet.
Romesh, right? Romesh,
yeah.
okay.
Remesh. Okay, am I saying it wrong? Remesh.
Well,
Remech.
Remech means man or person, but the plural form of Remech, which means a man or a person, is Romachet, and that means people.
Okay.
So real quick, here's a teaching moment. What Dr. Brand is saying is he's saying Romachet. He's pronouncing Romachet, and he also said Remech, which is what Garfield and Ankh pronounce. And so he's making the distinction between Remech and Romachet. He's saying that Romachet is the plural of Remech. Now, to that, I want to, make everyone aware that I don't know if you all ever hear me say something like, what's an example? I will say an Egyptian word, like let's say Amenet or Ament. Now I'm saying the same word. If I say Ament or Amenet, my intention is to talk about the same word. But you'll hear me say something like that. I'll say Amen or Amenet, and I'll say depends on who you talk to, right? And what I mean by that is that different scholars have a certain habit of doing things a certain way. And so like Amenet is how some scholars pronounce the word for west in the Egyptian language, Amenet. And then some scholars will say Ament. They won't put an E between the N and the T. They'll just say Ament. Ament. But they're talking about the same word. Okay. Now, likewise here, what we have with Dr. Brand, he's saying Romachet. And so he's of the category of scholars that pronounce Remech, the plural form of Remech, as Romachet. But there are many other scholars, and it's the majority of scholars who are now aware that Romachet is not, there's not a real word Romachet, that the word is actually Remech, even in the plural. Okay. And so I want to share something with you all real quick to that speaks to that. And again, the purpose of me doing this is to give my commentary, but also when I can, I want to share information because I want you all to learn something, or at least I can remind you of something, even if you already know this. So let me, I'm going to stop sharing that one real quick and share. And remember, Emicat, if you can post the link to our Facebook group, I want everyone to start getting used to participating in our Facebook group as well, because when I share things, if I have it to share with other people and you don't have it and you would like to have it, like if I share digital material in form of PDFs or whatever the case is, and you don't have it and you need it, I don't mind sharing. Okay, sharing is caring, sharing is giving, and I want people to learn, and I want people to study. So I will do my best to share. But you have to let me know and contact me. So if you're on Facebook, definitely contact me. Message me on Facebook. Hold up, I'm trying to find. Okay, this is what I want to share with you all real quick. Okay, so remember, this is kind of like a side note. But this is an article done by Sammy Eulogis, and it's in a journal de Grutier journal, and it's an article entitled "The Destruction of Mankind." And in this particular article, he's talking about the word remech, and he's doing an analysis of the word remech. It's orthography, which is how it's spelled and how it's represented in spelling, and within the language, it's phonology, how the word was actually spoken by the people, and then comparing the two. And he's showing how the idea that people have about remechet is actually not a word. It should be remech. So this particular article goes through that, and I'm not going to read the article, of course, but just to kind of scan and quickly show you that it has multiple pages, paragraphs on paragraphs, where he's going through the different glyphs, going through other comparison with other words that do the same thing, and so on and so forth. And that's the end. He has a bibliography and so on. Okay, so just wanted to say all of that as an FYI. But we could read the summary real quick. It says the phonology changes undergone by the word remech, person, are shown to have clashed with this emblematic and almost logographic written form established at the end of the Old Kingdom. The orthography of the lexeme was highly resistant to alterations in its phonology, which resulted in two changes of its gender over time, from original masculine to feminine, and finally back to masculine. However, Egyptian scribes sometimes tried to solve this discrepancy, and in one instance, such attempts resulted in what Egyptology has often been assumed to be a separate lexeme for mankind. It is argued here, however, that the said word never existed, and that its alleged attestations exemplify one solution: the particular mismatches between the traditional writing and the spoken form of the word remech. So, based on this particular scholar's research and reanalyzing these things, he's saying that that form remechet does not actually exist. Okay, so just wanted to kind of give you all an FYI on that. All right, so let's get back to the video. Let's see, where were we? Okay, got to reshare. All right. So we're back in business. So I'm gonna let it play.
So if you was to find it in, I think it is in the dictionary, maybe Faulkner's dictionary. I'm not quite sure.
And I'm not. I actually had the dictionary. Can I just grab it real quick?
Yeah, grab it. Do your thing real quick. Yeah, grab that. We need to figure out. Yeah, Smash, was that in the? I mean, I think I'm talking about Smash. Yeah, this is actually Smash work. Let's see. That's thesaurus. It might have found it in the thesaurus. Let me see.
Okay, so I'm gonna skip. So Ankh is like scanning the video that he's sharing. So apparently Ankh is sharing a video that had that glyph on the screen. Okay, he's paused it and showing that to Dr. Brand. So I'm gonna skip where Ankh is trying to find it and get to the point where Dr. Brand got up out of his chair to go get his Faulkner dictionary. So as a side note, as an FYI, Raymond Faulkner's dictionary is the go-to dictionary on the collegiate college level of Egyptology and learning the Egyptian language. That's the dictionary that they use in college courses. Raymond Faulkner's Middle Egyptian, concise dictionary of Middle Egyptian. Okay, so anyone familiar with me, you would already know that I'm a person that advocates getting all of the dictionaries. Get every single dictionary, Egyptian dictionary that you can possibly get. Get them all. Having said that, I recommend beginners to use the Mark Vigas dictionary for several reasons. I don't have time to get into right now, but I advocate for people to get all the dictionaries keep them for safekeeping, and never rely on any one dictionary. But I will say, as a beginner, I recommend people to begin and start off with Mark Vigus Dictionary because of the way it's arranged, and et cetera, et cetera. Okay, so so that's what Dr. Brand went to go get. He went to go get his Faulkner Dictionary. Now, Faulkner's dictionary is handwritten, so that's what makes it a little bit challenging for beginners, because you have to get used to the author's, which is Faulkner. You have to get used to his handwriting style because it's in cursive. You know, he's writing these things in cursive. And I'm going to share my screen in the page that Dr. Brand brings up. But he doesn't show it on the screen, but I'm going to show you all on the screen. And so it's handwritten. And yeah, so that's it. So let me let it play. Oh, I'm gonna let this. I'm gonna skip this. So I'm gonna skip the part where Ankh is looking for it and where he gets back on here. Maybe
you do have it written as a Egypt as, but probably I think what that would mean. Okay. So I think I got the point where he found it in his dictionary. All right, so I'm gonna let it play. So I'm just looking at the. So I have Kemet. Oh, here we go.
Yeah, it's in Faulkner's dictionary.
Okay. I did find it as a writing for Egyptians.
Okay.
So you know how the you know how those commercials. It was at this moment that. It was at this moment that but it was at this moment that Dr. Brand actually now knows that this is indeed an actual Egyptian original word. That is an actual Egyptian word, but it doesn't have the owl in it though, as was shown to him. All right, so as you know, I just do want to make that distinction. But he did find the word in the Faulkner Dictionary. All right, so I'm gonna let it play.
And I think what that would mean is not necessarily, if you will, the black ones, but probably, and it's attested in a papyrus. So you have first one, the traditional writing of the word for Egypt as the Black Land.
Okay. So wait a minute, did y'all hear him? He's doubling down on the second possibility that he gave earlier. That he's saying that he doesn't think it is for black people. Okay, so let's just keep up and listen to what he say as he said and how he says all of these things. Okay, I want y'all to pay attention.
Okay.
You do have it written as a colloquial experience for the Egyptians. And so, I mean, you could take it as meaning, those who are black, if you will. Okay. But it also could be taken, and I suspect this is the more likely interpretation, as those of the black land.
Now he restated the two possibilities, but now as an expert, Dr. Brand is saying what he feels is the likely choice. As he just said, is likely to mean those of the black land. All right, so I just want to make these. I'm gonna make these points clear, and I'm gonna keep making these points clear because we have individuals in the conflict community who will cherry pick and utilize statements made by people out of context and not deal with other things that the same person says. And the perfect example is Dr. Brand right here, right now. All right. Last night we were told that Dr. Brand said that this particular word means black people, but nothing was mentioned about what he likely interprets this to be. And so you see how things are done, and I think it's disingenuous to do things like that. So I want to make sure you all are on point, and you all be careful and watch out for things like that, okay? Because it's all about learning and trying to find the truth and the reality of these things, okay? So I'm gonna let it play. And remember, I can see the chat, off to the side here. And if you have a question about anything that I'm doing, like, or what's said, not a question that's going to throw anything off, feel free to go ahead and type your question in the chat. But make sure you add the Seshu so I can see it, so it can be highlighted. All right, but I'm going to let this play.
Okay.
So, I mean, again, it's a bit ambiguous. But if the standard interpretation of the word Kemet, referring to the place of Egypt, is, the Black Land, then this writing of referring to, the people would most likely mean those who were of the Black Land, rather.
So again, he doubled down. He double downs again. I didn't rewind it. He actually says it all over again. And he's given more reason, his reasoning behind why he's saying what he's saying. He said, Kemet being the Black Land, then this particular rendition would more likely be those of the Black Land. All right, so keep that. Let's keep it up. Keep it going.
Rather than those who are black.
Okay, so all right.
Again, possible to interpret it either way, but in terms of the context of the word Kemet as referring to the place, and just to explain to your audience, the reason why Egypt is called the Black Land is because of the color of the soil of the fertile land of Egypt, which is, and by Egypt, the Egyptians meant the fertile Nile Valley. And this is the part of today we think of Egypt as this area that, is on the map, which also includes the desert, which the ancient Egyptians called the Red Land, the Jasseret. And of course, that was a place no plants grew. It was completely barren. Whereas the Kemet, the Black Land, this is the area that when the annual Nile flood comes and overspills its bank, during the flood, it would deposit this thick layer of muddy silt that was dark, literally black in color. And this was like liquid, potting soil. When you get that potting soil,
absolutely,
that rich black color. I mean, the Nile deposited this liquid fertilizer every year, and the soil is literally this rich black color, which is a color of fertility. It's the reason why Egypt was so bountiful for the agricultural harvest. But any seed you threw at it would grow, and so that was what they considered to be Egypt, the land of the black soil. And so that was Egypt. And once you got into the desert, you were no longer in Egypt.
So stop there. So this warrants commentary. So here we have an expert, Dr. Brand, that is saying the same thing that I've been saying for years, and even in the way I say it, that I've been saying it, that when I explain that Kemet, now I usually say Kemet proper. So Kemet proper is only the part of that territory that is connected and has access to the Nile's river water. And that's essentially what he's saying. Then beyond that, to the left and to the right of the river itself, beyond that zone, you find the desert, the barren land. And so the ancient Egyptians had in their mind two different types of land. And that's something that people are going to have to burn in your mind. Burn it in your mind. That the Egyptians saw what they owned collectively, that the king owned. They saw it as two different types of land. Ecology or geography or what have you. Environment. There were two types. There was a infertile, barren land that didn't have access to water. And then there was a fertile part that had access to water, that was very fruitful, that could grow anything pretty much. You throw, like as he said, you throw a seed at it, it's whatever you throw at it is going to grow. Okay? So these were two totally different environments. And the preferred environment, which is what the ancient Egyptians called their home, was the fertile part. That's where everybody lived. That's where all of the gnomes are located. They're located adjacent or in close proximity to the river, because anything that had access to water is what they conceived of as Kemet. Okay, and so that goes into explanations that I've given and even documented about, which we got whole videos on that. So I just want to point that out, that this Dr. Brand is saying the same thing that we've been saying for years. Okay, so just want to put you all onto that.
Even if, 5 miles from the Nile River, technically you were no longer in Egypt from that perspective. And so in that sense, the people of the Black Land, I think is, those who are of the Black Land, I think is what this word means. Now, again, you could literally interpret it those who are black, but I suspect it really means those who are of the Black Land.
Okay, so now he's tripling down, quadrupling down. He's mentioning the two possibilities. And and every time he says this, he's mentioned the two possibilities, but he's also he's leaning on and saying most likely, et cetera, and you listen to how he's saying it, that it doesn't mean he's not leaning to out of the two possibilities, he's not leaning to the black people side. He's leaning to the people of the Black Land side, those who inhabit Kemet, the inhabitants of Kemet. And he's looking at Kemet being translated as the Black Land. So those of the Black Land, the inhabitants of the Black Land. Okay, so I just want to keep making this clear, because, as I said before, we have individuals that will biasly cherry pick what people say when it fits their agenda, their biased agenda, and anachronistic ways. Okay, I just want to keep reiterating that. So that, and I'm saying it because I don't want you all to fall victim of that. All right, we want to do our best to stay away from that.
In other words, Egyptians.
Hey,
So-
let me add on a quick point. So the people in the Red Land, did the people from Kemet ever live also in the Red Lands?
Well, as far as I know, we don't have words a word that means like those who are of the Red Land. Now, the Red Land was essentially outside of Egypt, but the other word to express outside of Egypt was as a foreign land. It was what the Egyptians called the Hasset, which is the mountain land, the hill country. And the term the Egyptians used, the generic term for foreigner, was called Hasutiu, which literally means the mountain men, if you will, the hillbillies, those who were of the mountains, those who were of the hills. So, I mean, literally, it was kind of a denigrating term.
That's crazy.
All foreigners were generically hillbillies or mountain men,
Okay.
and hill dwellers. They also referred to, again, they were not very politically correct when it came. They were very creative in coming up with these very derogatory names for foreigners. And for instance, they called Bedouin who lived in the desert, they called them those who were upon the sand, if you will, sand crawlers or sand dwellers. And then they had all kinds of specific names, both, the ethnic names for various foreign peoples who were Nubians or Libyans or Syrians. But they also used kind of very, specific derogatory names like, bowmen for Nubians or boomerang men for, Asiatics, etc. But they were to be distinguished from, again, Egyptians or, the people of Egypt, that kind of thing. Or,
Okay.
or in this case, the people of the Black Land.